Kính thưa quý vị, nhiều chính trị gia đạo đức giả, dối trá, bất tài đã đánh mất niềm tin đối với cộng đồng chúng ta. Đó là lý do tại sao niềm tin trở nên quan trọng đến như vậy. Là một chủ doanh nghiệp, luật sư và 2 lần là ủy viên thành phố, đại diện và tranh đấu cho quyền lợi của cộng đồng Việt Nam, tôi đã học được rằng niềm tin không phải đến tự nhiên mà phải được xây dựng nên. Là đại diện của cộng đồng, tôi sẽ làm việc không ngừng để giá nhà trở nên hợp lý hơn, khu phố an toàn, tội phạm phải bị xử lý, giải quyết vấn đề vô gia cư và hệ thống giáo dục của chúng ta tiếp tục cải tiến. I am Jimmy Pham and I approve this message.
Andy xin cảm ơn quý đồng hương đã cho Andy cơ hội phục vụ trên 30 năm qua. Andy luôn đặt quyền lợi quý khách lên hàng đầu với tất cả tấm lòng, dùng chất lượng cao và độ bền bỉ. Nay Andy tranh cử vào chức giám đốc sở vệ sinh môi trường, chuyển rác thải thành cây xanh 4 mát, trồng thêm phượng vị khắp bô sa, tạo phương tiện cho du khách gần xa đến thăm viếng, tạo nền kinh tế cho Westminster, cũng là đền đáp tứ trọng ân. Andy xin quý đồng hương hãy bầu cho Andy vào ngày 5 tháng 11 này với chức giám đốc sở vệ sinh môi trường. Andy xin chân thành cảm tạ quý vị.
Kính thưa quý đồng hương, chúng tôi là cựu nghị viên Phát Bùi, vừa mãn nhiệm kỳ 8 năm phục vụ cư dân, này tiếp tục dấn thân tranh cử vào chức thị trưởng thành phố Garden Grove. Là thị trưởng, chúng tôi quyết tâm bảo vệ an ninh cho cư dân thành phố bằng cách mạnh tay giải quyết nạn vô gia cư, tăng cường thêm cảnh sát, truy bắt tội phạm, kể cả tội trộm cắp dưới 1.000 đô, cải thiện thời gian duyệt xét xây thêm nhà ADU xuống còn vài tuần thay vì nhiều tháng. Với 8 năm phục vụ đắc lực trong vai trò phó thị trưởng, nghị viên, chủ tịch cộng đồng, chúng tôi đã thành công liên tiếp tổ chức diễn hành Tết trong 10 năm, dựng tượng Đức Thánh Trần, dựng tượng Vua Quang Trung, giúp nhiều đồng hương xin housing, và trong tương lai có dự án xây dựng đài tưởng niệm quốc hận 30 tháng 4 để ghi nhớ nguồn gốc người Việt tị nạn Cộng sản. Để có một thị trưởng người Mỹ gốc Việt, xin đồng hương hãy dồn phiếu trước ngày 5 tháng 11 cho Phát Bùi, một người tận tâm, nhiều kinh nghiệm và luôn phục vụ cho cộng đồng.
Cuộc bầu cử ngày 5 tháng 11 rất quan trọng. Chúng ta chỉ có một lựa chọn duy nhất là thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn, một người con của chiến sĩ Việt Nam Cộng Hòa, tranh đấu phục vụ cho cộng đồng người Việt suốt 20 năm qua. Nếu không giành chiến thắng lần này, chúng ta sẽ mất đi những thành quả hơn 49 năm xây dựng một cộng đồng lớn mạnh với đạo luật tưởng nhớ tháng Tư đen, chương trình giảng dạy lịch sử chiến tranh Việt Nam, văn phòng phục vụ cộng đồng, hội trợ y tế miễn phí. Hãy giữ tiếng nói của người Việt tại Hội đồng Giám sát quận Cam. Thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn sẽ tiếp tục tranh đấu cho cộng đồng như bảo vệ nhân quyền tại Việt Nam, chống tham nhũng, chống tăng thuế, chống lạm phát, tăng việc làm, hỗ trợ cơ sở thương mại, giải quyết vấn đề housing và homeless, mở lại văn phòng phục vụ cộng đồng, xây dựng trung tâm văn hóa. Hãy dồn phiếu cho thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn vào giám sát viên để tiếp tục những việc dở dang, bài trừ tệ nạn bè phái và bảo vệ đồng tiền thuế của người dân. Thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn, giám sát viên địa hạt 1, cột số 2.
Được phục vụ trong quân đội là niềm tự hào lớn đối với luật sư Giang-Trực, sinh ra và lớn lên tại đây, nhưng ông luôn hãnh diện về nguồn gốc thiện nhân tị nạn Cộng sản của gia đình ông. Tại Quốc hội, ông sẽ tranh đấu để tăng ngân sách cho Đề hạt 45, bảo đảm an ninh công cộng, phát triển nền kinh tế, quyết tâm bảo vệ an sinh xã hội và Medicare, gác bỏ quan điểm chính trị riêng để phục vụ và phát triển đất nước. Xin quý đồng hương bầu cho luật sư Giang-Trực vào chức vụ dân biểu liên bang Đề hạt 45. Xin cảm ơn quý đồng hương.
Trân trọng kính thưa quý cử tri và quý cư dân thành phố Westminster. Chúng tôi là Thành Đặng, con cháu Việt Nam Cộng Hòa và cựu quân nhân Hoa Kỳ. Được sự ủng hộ của thượng nghị sĩ Janet Nguyễn và Hiệp hội Cứu hỏa chuyên nghiệp, chúng tôi ra ứng cử với một tấm lòng phục vụ, một tinh thần hợp tác để cùng tìm các giải pháp phát triển thành phố Westminster tươi sáng hơn. Xin dồn phiếu cho chúng tôi, Thành Đặng, vào chức nghị viên thành phố Westminster Đề hạt 2, cột số 2. Xin chân thành cảm tạ. Pay for by Dan for Council 2024.
He not only was read the charges that we've alleged the United States government was going to discontinue on us, but he also gave his own statement to Judge Selma and admitted in his own words that he was responsible for all this activity and that he did in fact engage in conspiracy to commit bribery. For those of you who follow state court, we usually read the factual basis in a plea agreement, but we don't ask the defendant to state in their own words their guilt. And in federal court today, Judge Selma did that For me, as a former county supervisor and a colleague of Mr. Doe's, hearing him say this in his own words was pretty significant and very monumental. And it gave me great confidence that we absolutely got it right, that the government got it right. You know, when we charge individuals, we collect the evidence and we analyze it to determine whether we can prove the evidence and criminal activity beyond a reasonable doubt. So having the charges read and Mr. Doe admit his conspiracy to commit bribery in his own words, that completed it for me. It made me know that as the District Attorney of Orange County, that not only was he taking full responsibility, but that the excellent work of the Orange County District Attorney's Office and the United States Attorney's Office got it right.
Can you talk a little bit about the Viet America Society situation? Because, I mean, obviously today he acknowledged that he took bribes and the amount they took it for was significant, but it's not nearly as significant as the amount of money this organization received. Can you talk about a little bit sort of the unaccounted for millions of dollars and where you think those are?
Well, I'm not going to speculate at this time. I mean, obviously this is an ongoing investigation. It's not a secret. There's additional individuals who in court have been named as unindicted co-conspirators. Let me start that again. There's been individuals in court who in the allegations are unindicted co-conspirators or co-conspirators, and our investigation's ongoing. When Mr. Doe was arraigned, I made it very, very clear at that time that we were not done and we were going to pursue every particular individual who was engaged in this activity to the fullest extent of the law. It is obviously our commitment and what we're doing to the best of our ability, not only to seize assets because we want to be able to liquidate those assets, homes and the like, real property, and liquid money and bank accounts. We want to be able to take those assets and return those back to the federal government, which is the entity that allocated those funds to the County of Orange in the first place. So it's an ongoing investigation. We're absolutely committed and dedicated to making full restitution back to the taxpayers of the United States and the taxpayers of Orange County.
So regarding restitution, I heard the judge said Mr. Andrew Doe always waived his right to appeal. What if the future findings and involve other case? Would the judge have the authority to impose extra or more restitution, and Mr. Doe, would he be able to appeal it?
This is Laura Jean Berger. She's also a United States Attorney, cross-designated from the Orange County District Attorney's Office. If you were in court, you saw that she read the factual basis today. The answer to your question is with respect to additional either evidence or other issues that might come up at the time of sentencing on March 31st of 2025. Judge Sandler was very clear that Mr. Doe was pleading guilty and admitting his conduct and culpability, and that he is waiving his appeal, and that the sentence could go higher or lower than even the recommended sentence under federal guidelines, and that he was not being held to any particular dollar amount or any particular sentence. In other words, Mr. Doe waived his rights fully and voluntarily and with complete knowledge and assistance of his counsel, and he did that understanding that there could be additional information that is gleaned between now and March 31st. The probation department for the United States government will be doing that inquiry, and we are free to present additional evidence. However, we did enter an agreement today within the confines of the information we know, and my office, me in particular as the district attorney, and the U.S. attorney, Mr. Martin Estrada, we have agreed, he and I, that this would be the representation that we would make to Mr. Doe. But Judge Selna was very clear. He is not obligated to abide by the agreement between the government and Mr. Doe. So do I believe generally, at the end of the day, these sentences are consistent with the agreement between the government and the defendant? Generally, yes. But Judge Selna is not bound by that.
With the DA, on the 22nd, I met you in the press conference. I bring up the issue about the Memorial War. I think you mentioned, and I put on TV, and everybody asked me, you very shame about the Memorial War, and you mentioned you do not accept anything regarding a stolen money for that Memorial War. until today, the memorial was still very terrible. You have any plan, anything to do about that, please?
Sure. As a district attorney, my job is to bring the charges we believe we can prove against Mr. Doe and any other individual involved in this conspiracy beyond a reasonable doubt. I feel personally just shamed, quite frankly, about that fact that the money was squandered with respect to the building of the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Miles Square Park. It is really up to the county, and it will be the new supervisor who is elected next week. And I can tell you the election in Orange County will not be certified until December 3rd. So state law does not allow certification until December 3rd. And, oh, sorry, this is a little distracting. So just to let you know, the election for the 1st District Supervisor between Ms. Marquez and Ms. Nguyen cannot be certified until December 3rd. The supervisor can be sworn in as early as December 17th by a majority of the Board of Supervisors. So do I think that a new supervisor will be sworn in and seated in the month of December, earlier than the official swearing in January? I think that could happen. I think that's going to be one of the first issues front and center for the new supervisor, is the completion of the Vietnam Memorial Wall and getting the funds and the contractors in place to complete that project.
There was also a mention during some of these discussions that his plea agreement was dependent on his daughter's deal as well. Can you explain some more of how that works, why it's set up that way?
Of course. So Rhiannon Doe, in an agreement between Mr. Estrada, the United States Attorney for the Central District, and myself, and my team and his team, we've agreed in conjunction with the guilty plea of Mr. Doe that his daughter would receive diversion. She is required, as part of that diversion agreement, to fully cooperate. What's wrong? What are you pointing at me for?
The siren.
Oh, I can stand by.
We're trying to
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead and start over.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sure, yeah. Not like I haven't done this before. All right. The agreement with the government and Mr. Doe was that his daughter, Rhiannon Doe, would get diversion, and that there would be terms and conditions of that agreement that she must abide by, including full cooperation in our continuing investigation of the conspiracy to commit bribery by her father and other people involved in this situation. She has to be reviewed by pretrial services and their pretrial service division in the U.S. Attorney's Office, or let me rephrase that. It's not a part of the U.S. Attorney's Office. It's a separate unit, I think part of the courts. Irrespective of who does it and how they do it, she has to go there and she has to agree to the terms of diversion as stated by that division of the United States government. If and when she does that, then we can move forward with her. But at this time, we still have to get that diversion agreement approved. If, and you heard Judge Selma say, he told Mr. Doe, in the event that his daughter does not agree to diversion, irrespective of the agreement, all bets are off with both Mr. Doe and his daughter.
So that happens at sentencing, or that could happen before sentencing?
With Rhiannon Doe?
Yeah.
She will go on and do her diversion review and indoctrination, for lack of a better word, I would have guessed in the next couple of weeks.
May I have a question with the U.S. Attorney regarding Judge?
These are all my, I'm the only one that was.
Okay, regarding Judge Sherry Farm, I heard that you guys are still under investigation. So I'd like to know if she's totally out of the wood, or is the case still pending, and would she be involved or be indicted?
I will not comment on anything with respect to our investigation and specific individuals who are not charged. Whether it's Judge Pham or any other person whose names have been, put out there in public view, every single person in this country is entitled to the presumption of innocence. And we investigate people every single year in the Orange County District Attorney's Office, and it does not result in any charges whatsoever. And they deserve to maintain their good name. So I will not comment in any way whatsoever, because it's not fair to Judge Pham, and it's not fair to any of the other individuals whose names have circulated with respect to this investigation.
What would you say to concerns about the DA's office historically has not looked at political corruption seriously enough, and that in some ways has created this kind of environment where there's this kind of brazen attitude to just plunder politics? What do you say? Certainly you've heard this before. The former district attorney also received the same kind of critique, that there's too chummy of a relationship between elected officials as a group, and that there just hasn't been enough. We've seen Irvine brought up with bribery allegations, Anaheim blew up with an FBI affidavit, now the county. What does it say to the people of Orange County of whether or not there's enough regulation, powerful interest in politicians?
Well, first of all, I completely disagree with your presupposition, the stem of your question. Many people know that Mr. Markowitz, who was running for Fullerton City Council, resigned, withdrew his application or withdrew his candidacy, at least informally. We can't do it. His name's going to be on the ballot. He's already entered his guilty plea. Tomorrow, Carol Gamble will enter her guilty plea with respect to filing false documents. Of course, we were very, very involved in this investigation, and many of you were asking questions about what I was doing and my role with respect to the investigation of Mr. Doe, and of course I could not answer any of your questions. But if you hear today the factual basis that was read by Ms. Berger and the information that was presented in court today, you absolutely know without a doubt that there was serious investigation involving bank records, property records, individual activity, and so that information has to be secured through search warrants and other kinds of ways to access documents. That kind of information that you heard today does not happen overnight. With respect to Anaheim, the only comment I will make is my office has been working with, and I don't want to use the word coordinating, but we are fully aware of and have been repeatedly engaged with the United States Attorney's Office with respect to the issues going on in Anaheim. Again, you're standing in the city where Roman Reina ran and wasn't qualified to live in this district. I prosecuted him.
After a civil case, Roman Reina was already out of office. And these two cases of nomination papers come after this issue. So before that, there's never been a politician over in Liberty Park in Westminster. People ask about whether it's been legally sold or not. We're still waiting. Mr. Hernandez was Santa Ana City Council. There was a question for a DA investigation about Brown Act violations. He said he was never contacted by investigators
I understand that.
There's serious gaps there. It's not just my supposition, it's fact.
I'm not here to argue with you.
I'm not arguing. I'm just
I understand, and I appreciate the opportunity to question. Sure. Again, we investigate these allegations, and we do an excellent job in our special prosecution unit. There are things we do that you mentioned to me that I can't even, or would I even comment on because of the confidentiality and the nature of those particular things. With respect to Mr. Hernandez, we have looked thoroughly into his allegations, and he's been communicated with and contacted about the outcome of those allegations.
So he was never, but he's lying then? He's never contacted by an investigator in the middle of it?
No. That one thing that I read in your periodical with respect to not being contacted, after I read that myself, I asked the question. I want to know the answer to that question.
So you don't know?
I don't know, and I need to find out.
So in your last press conference, your last press conference, you said let this be the warning for other elected officials. Lately, I heard that the candidate Derek John even mentioned that Michelle Steele is involved in this. So can you tell us if Michelle Steele, Van Tran, the chief of staff of Mr. Doe, and all his former colleagues like Cheetah, Len Nguyen, and Charlie Nguyen, are they also would be or could be under investigation?
The answer to your question, I need to bifurcate this. Allegations between Mr. Tran and Ms. Steele in that congressional race, that's going on right now, and it'll be decided next week or soon thereafter. I have received, to my knowledge, no complaints by other campaign. Formally, I don't.
Not formally.
I personally don't know. We get allegations and information, and I don't necessarily know it in the exact moment. But right now, to my knowledge, I've received nothing from Mr. Tran or Ms. Steele. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
And then with respect to all the other people that Mr. Doe has had communication with or relationships in the past, I can tell you, every single time we get an allegation, we look at it thoroughly. And I believe we do a phenomenal job. The only limitation that I have is I'm not allowed to tell you what the outcome is unless it results in some kind of public information or indictment, because it goes back to the fact I can personally ruin a person's reputation.
Right.
And I will not use the power of my office to hurt anybody's reputation.
So would you encourage people, first-hand witness, to come to you for witness?
We have a hotline.
Yes.
We have a voter fraud hotline, and believe me, it is blowing up. And it's blowing up for a good reason, because people are reading that in the last few days, Mr. Markowitz and Fullerton pled guilty, and that Ms. Gamble has admitted her guilt, but has not yet entered her guilty plea. So we are now getting a tremendous amount of information. I will tell you, it could be what Mr. Santana said, oh, they don't think the DA's office does anything. Or it could be that by getting out these kind of high-profile prosecutions, it's sending a message to the public that there's a venue for us to consider that activity, or it's sending a message to elected officials, don't cross the line, don't even get close to it. Okay? All right, I gotta go.
How soon will your office notify the state bar of Andrew Doe's guilty plea today?
I'm not going to comment on that. I can only say generally, and I don't know if you're a member of the press, we are legally obligated as the DA's office to report an attorney's misconduct when we are engaged in that. That should answer your question just by inference.
And just to be clear, the hotline, anyone can submit information via email 2024.elections@ocdapa.org.
Can you say again one more time, please?
2024.elections@ocdapa.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Good luck.